Hi, my name is Isha Patel, Executive Coding Officer of KITE, and welcome to KITE's free Java course. At KITE, we're on a mission to teach people across the globe the latest coding technologies. Today, we're going to learn about multidimensional arrays. What are multidimensional arrays? Multidimensional arrays are arrays inside of an array. They are also known as 2D arrays or matrix. Java doesn't support traditional multidimensional arrays like in C, but there are many ways to create and access them. However, they are declared and printed differently than regular arrays. For multi-dimensional arrays, make sure you have your arrays imported, and you need to follow this format. Data type, and then you have your double brackets, the name, and then you have your curly brackets, your two sets. So this is the outer bracket, and these are the inner brackets that pertain to each array. So this one array over here that I highlighted, it's an array, but it's also an element of the outer array. And you can put as many elements as you want inside this array, where it's like item 1, item 2, you can have as many items as you want, and you can have as many arrays you want inside your big array. So I separated the second element, which is another array, with a comma, and you have your items, and you can continue with these items, and you can continue with these arrays inside here. So let's create an actual array, and we have int brackets y is equal to 1, 2. Let's just have 2 elements in these arrays for now. 3, 4, and lastly 5, 6. And the thing about multi-dimensional arrays is that they don't print out the way you would expect them to print out compared to traditional arrays. So with traditional arrays, you do arrays.toString, and inside these parentheses, we would just put the name of the array. But when we print this out, you get this. This is not the correct way to print them out, and to do so, you have to create a for loop. But before we get into for loops, it's important to understand the length function. So we're going to just print out the length of this multidimensional array, y.length. And you get 3. Because there are 3 arrays inside here. But now, let's create another for loop before we create like the main one. We'll have for int I equals 0, I is less than y.length, I plus plus. We're going to have print this out. But not y.length, y of I.length, the index I. When we run this, we get 2, 2, and 2. This is because the length of each array inside like the big array is 2. They all have a length of 2. So if I just put 7 here, you can see how y of I, that's going to change. It's going to be 2, 2, 3 now, because this has a length of 2, this has a length of 2, and this has a length of 3. So y.length over here, this is going to be 3 because there are 3 elements. It's counting how many elements there are in the big array. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Now this one, y of I.length, it's counting how many elements there are in each individual array inside the big array. So in this one, there are 2 elements. This one, there are 2 elements. This one, there are 3 elements. So it's important to understand this before we print this out, because it's going to help us to access different elements and create more functions. So the for loop is pretty similar to this for loop. All you have to do is remove the dot length and do arrays.toString. So arrays.toString. Just put this inside. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's how you print out the individual arrays inside here. Also, this is important to keep in mind that the first brackets dictates the number of rows and the second brackets dictates the number of columns. So let's say that you wanted to change an element of the array over here. This is how you would do it. We first start with the name, which is y, and then inside these first brackets, you write which row you want to change. So let's say you want to change the first row. And then the second brackets, let's just put 1 again for the columns. And notice how the result will be different than what you expect. Oh, sorry, we also have to put a value in here. You can't just leave it like that. So you get 1, 2, 3, 10, 5, 6, 7. So we changed the value to 10. And you would expect that since this is the first, like rows and columns, it would go to the first row, which is this, and the first column, and it would change the 1. But no, remember how I mentioned that length and index is different? Well, over here, y of 1, even though it does start with the rows now relate to the index. So in Java, the index of this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. And inside each array, it has an index of 0, 0. This has an index of 0, 1. So if we do 0, 1, it's going to be this one, because this is the 0th index, and it's going to change this one. But since we did 1, 1, this is now 0, this is 1, and this one inside is 1, 0, and this one inside is 1, 1. So it changed 1, 1 to 10. So you can see that 4 is now changed to 10. So this is how to access and change the index and elements of arrays and arrays inside arrays. So now let's do a problem. Okay, so we're going to create a method that takes in 2D arrays, two 2D arrays, adds them, and returns the output as a 2D array. So first we need to create our method. So public static int, then our double brackets, addition, and inside these brackets we're going to have our 2D arrays. So int h, comma int n. This is just random names. You can obviously add whatever you want. And since it's going to output a 2D array, we need to create a 2D array, a new 2D array. So this is how you do it. You're going to write int, double brackets, and then you're going to have a name, g is equal to new int, and then inside here we're going to have 2, and inside here we're going to have 2, because 2 rows and 2 columns. And then we're going to have a for loops. So for int I equals 0, I is going to be less than h.length I plus plus. And inside this for loop, we're going to have another for loop. So this is where we used our nested for loops. Int j equals 0. Now j is going to be less than h of I dot length. Remember how we talked about the difference between h dot length and h of I? This is going to be just the rows, and this is going to be the columns. And then we're going to do j plus plus. And now we're going to be able to add. So we're going to do g of I, g of j is going to be equal to h of I, h and j plus n, I, and then j. And then we're going to return g. So basically how this code works is we have our method over here, and then we have our 2 parameters, and we've created another 2D array that's going to hold the sum of these 2 2D arrays. And then we have our for loop where we created our int I, and that's going to help us take care of the rows because it's h.length. And this one is j. This is going to help us take care of the columns. So now we're going to go over here to our 2D array, and we're going to specify the row and the column, and that's going to be equal to the specific row and column of the 2D array h and n. And this is going to keep our indexes and elements in line. So we return g, and we need to have our public static void main method. So now we can create our arrays. So we'll have int h, that's going to be 1, comma 2. It's going to be 3, comma 4, and that's going to be 1. We're going to have int n, and that's going to be 5, comma 6, and 7, 8. And since we made our parameters, now we need to make our 2D array that will hold the sum. So we will have int g, and that's going to be equal to addition. We're calling the function, and we're putting in our parameters, which is h and n. And now to print this out, we need to have a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I is going to be less than g.length, and I plus plus. We're going to print this out. System.out.println arrays.toString g of I. So when we print this out, it gives us 6, 8, and 10, 12. So when we add this, we get 5 plus 1 is 6, so it gives us 6 over here. 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 over there. 7 plus 3 is 10, so 10 over there. And 8 plus 4 is 12, so 12 over there. So we took in two arrays, we added them, and we returned the output as a 2D array. Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure to join our Discord link below if you have any questions or want help or answers to any exercises. There you'll have access to an open forums and can interact with the vast coding community. Also, follow our Instagram as well.